We're holding actually at the very end of the second Perek of Pirkei Avos. We were finishing with Reb Tarfon. Reb Tarfon said in the Mishneh previously, Hayom Kotzer Hamlacha Meruba V'Pa'alu Matzeilin. That the life is short technically, and we have there's a lot of work to be done, and of course, generally laborers are lazy. However, the rewards are great, and the Balabais, meaning Hashem, is dochek. He's pushy. He's insistent. He wants to get things done. What does that mean? He wants the world to continue, and if the world continues, the only way it could continue is if somebody is oisik b'Torah. He learns Torah, and the world was created because of Torah. So in order that's a good enough way to push us to do things, and the way the Torah wants, because otherwise the world would not exist. So we finished that Mishneh previously, and when he finishes up the Perek, Hu HaYomer, Tarfon continues to say, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. The Tarfon says, you have no issue. You should not worry about how you're going to be able to. When you give somebody money somebody who needs money and is a poor person, and you're giving him tzedakah, and you're giving him, the guy comes over to you and he says, I have such loyal medical bills, and he shows you a receipt from a hospital or a bill from a hospital that's $10,000. And he comes over to you, and you just earn whatever you earn, but you give tzedakah. So what are you going to say? Are you going to say, listen, I'm going to give you $50. You show me a $20,000 bill, and I'm going to give you $50. That's ridiculous. He says, just go to that wealthy guy, and he's going to try to give you. He'll give you, if you can't, give you $2,000-3,000, and he'll give you these names that'll accomplish. So says Reb Tarfon, that's not your business. It's not your business to figure out Hashem's plans. He came to you for tzedakah. You have to give him tzedakah. It's your situation. It's your job to do whatever you have to do, and let the rest come from through the Rabbeinu Shalom. It's like gives a marshal one a medrash that a king hires 2 laborers, and he says, "I want you to fill up this pit." So they said, "Sure." They go to the pit, and the pit is massive. It's like fill up the Grand Canyon. Now, so one fool says to himself, "Listen, what am I, nuts? There's no way, there's no chance. Let me fill up the pit." He doesn't even bother starting. The other guy, he says, "I'm getting paid by the hour. It's a bigger pit. I got a bigger job. I'm going to make more money." And that's the way we have to look at it. It's not our job to complete the work. It's our job is to learn. So he says it in a way where somebody wants to learn Torah. Now, the Torah, again, we said many times, it's impossible to finish the Torah. Even Moshe Rabbeinu was not zoicha to completely understand everything that's in the Torah. It's so deep and it's so many facets to it. So he'd say, what's the point of starting if I'm never going to understand it, never going to be involved? That's not your job. You have to start and do whatever you can for yourself. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor is what Reb Tarfon says. You're not required to complete the task. However, he continues, you don't have options. It's not your choice to say, forget about it. I'm not even gonna begin doing this. Hashem doesn't want this of me. What is this? You think Hashem wants me to accomplish all this? Well, Hashem knows I'm never gonna accomplish it. That's not your business. If there's something that has to be done, then certainly if it's a mitzvah, you start it, and the Rebbeinu Shalom will give you the ability to hopefully finish it. And if not, you're still gonna get schar. And this is actually. He answers, Reb Tarfon answers, if we remember in the third Mishneh, in the very first Perek, Antigone Shesoicha said that a person should not do malacha al manas lekabel pras. And you shouldn't do malacha that in case I'm not going to get paid for it or something like that. So I'm only going to do malacha, but only if I'm going to get paid for it. And that came by Susim Tzedukim, that his two Talmidim left the fold, so to speak, and caused us a lot of problems in the future. It says, no, that's not. The Papan is actually answering Antigonus Soicha that he didn't complete his thought. He took things out of context. You don't have the options. You don't have the free will to withdraw from it. And then again, also, let's say somebody says, "Oh my gosh, I learned so much. I accomplished so much." And I first of all, we learned before, you shouldn't feel good about yourself, because he said before, it's the amount of work that you did is really required of you. This is really your thanks. You don't even begin to pay him back. However, he says, if you're going to learn a lot of Torah, and learning a lot of Torah does not necessarily mean learning just a lot of Torah. Like I was just a few minutes ago speaking to a plumber, and he says, he's working very hard, and he says, a tremendous amount of money goes to pay for my children. He says, so I told him, listen, you're working so that your children should be able to learn Torah. I said, you're getting schar as if you learned as well. And that's how it works. So that's part of it. You're going to get a lot of schar for just attempting to learn Torah. You're going to get a lot of schar. If you learn Torah, for sure you're going to get schar. The Neman who Bal Malachtecha Sheisham Lo Schar Polosecha. Bal Malachtecha, we said the other day, is the Rebbeinu Shalom, your boss, so to speak, the person who hires you, the person, your master, the Boy Oilam, the person who created the world. He's for sure going to pay you for every effort that you did. And not only that, the Gemara says that a person who thinks that he wants about doing something good, and just for whatever the reason that happens, that he doesn't get to it because he got caught up with something else. Not that he regretted thinking about doing that, but somehow he thought, you know what, I'm going to learn from 7 to 7:15. A customer walks in business, and he will 7, but somehow involved. He wants to learn. He gets learned at 7:15. He still gets schar, even though he actually was working. Because he had intentions, the intentions itself is good enough to get schar. Although the Gemara says in the reverse, if somebody has intentions to do an avera, and he doesn't do the avera, he actually does not get punished for the intentions. He gets punished only if he does at the end the avera. He only gets intentions alone, does not get you punishment. But when it comes to schar of a mitzvah, intentions do get rewarded, even though he doesn't even get to do it. There was this fella who had a tzedakah, and it's a big tzedakah in Israel that helps Leiv Lachem. This fellow who runs Leiv Lachem, he gets a call from someone, and he says, "Can I speak to the person who runs the funds, because I want to add money to the funding." Of course, sure, thank you very much that you're speaking to him. So he says, okay, could you please put me down that I'm going to add another $1 to my what I give every single month. So the person, was thinking to himself, here the fellow's calling him up and he's giving him $1. And he calls him up and he wants to make sure that it's going to go to this stuff. So he knew there must be some sort of a story behind this. So he asks him, could you tell me a little about yourself? So he says, what do you do? He says, I'm in Koil. Because you're in Koil? He says, yes. So how much do you give every month? She said, I give $10 a month for my Koil check. And it goes to Leiv Lachem. I think it's Leiv Lachem. So he says, and how come you're giving another $1 now? He says, well, there is a reward for somebody who shows up on time for the whole week and is not late even one time. He gets an extra 10% on his Koil check. Or a certain amount of money, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was $10. And I want to give $1, the 10%, to tzedakah. Well, how come you didn't give it till now? So he says, my wife had a baby, and while she was expecting, she was in bed rest, so I had to stay home. And I always came a little bit late to help my wife. And when she had the baby, she needed help. But now she told me that the kids are already old enough that I can go and make sure they get there on time. So this devoted boy, who is a younger man, is so devoted to everything, to the Torah, to his family, and to tzedakah. And there, he made it an issue for himself, and it was so important to him to get that extra dollar. The man was fascinated. The person who was running the tzedakah was fascinated. And what happened was that the next time he came to America, he used to always visit one fellow who used to give him quite a bit of money, like I think it was $5,000 every time. And he said, they were having a schmooze. He said, I got to tell you something. He goes and he tells him this story. He repeats everything that happened over here. The man goes and is unbelievable. He's a businessman. To him, the $5,000 probably meant less than the $10 this fellow was giving for tzedakah. And he says, you know what? He said, let me give me back the check. And he takes out another check and he doubles it. I'm going to give you $10,000. So this $1 caused that this man should give $1,000, should give an extra $5,000. So the man was telling the story over the collector to another person. And then he says, you think that's how it ended? It didn't even end like that. He said, I got back to Eretz Yisrael, and about 6 months later, I get a phone call from this man, and he says he's coming to Eretz Yisrael. Could he take him around to the store? You know, sometimes they have connections to the Rabbanim, these tzedakahs. I want to meet this Rav. And he said, sure, I'll take you. After he gets to Eretz Yisrael, he tells the fund manager, he says, you know what? I would like to meet that younger man. And he goes and he meets the younger man and he tells him, I want you to know that he told you, maybe you shouldn't have said who it is, but I really wanted to meet you for two reasons. I want you to know that you're getting schar. He says, because when I came now, I was going to give a $10,000 check, and I'm giving a $100,000 check because of you. And I think he helped out this fellow as well later. We see that the intentions, this pure intentions of this younger man was so beautiful that it inspired even just this one person. Maybe we had many more inspired people. But at the end of the day, he's going to get schar, as we said earlier, when sometimes, because if he induces other people to do a mitzvah, he gets schar, part of that schar for that mitzvah as well. So you're going to get schar, compounded interest on every single good thought and good action that you made and that caused other people. And he finishes with that. Just know that many times we see a tzaddik and he doesn't have any money. The tzaddikim that really live in poverty. They speak in Eretz Yisrael. We don't see so much here, but in Eretz Yisrael, people, we don't even know that they exist, and they live. All the Chazanists, and somebody came to visit. No, I need him to. I want no. I live. This is me. He wants to meet me. Let him come to me. Then he comes to me and my. And he's stunned. The man is stunned at how he's living. And he says, how could you, you're the leader of Yerushalayim, of the Jews here. They don't want to give you money. He says, I So just to finish up, I'm sorry, the phone got disconnected. And so he said like this, I don't need more. He said, I have everything I need here. He says, well, why do you live over here specifically? So he said, come, let me show you something. And he takes him to a window, and he saw over there in the window where the Beis Hamikdash used to stand. He says, every single day, he says, I go to that window and I look at the Chorban of the Beis Hamikdash. I see that my Rebbeinu Shloim, our Rebbeinu Shloim, is in Golos. If we are in Golos, then he's in Golos. There is no place for him to come down to. He used to a bias that he can stay at, and so he said, this is the reason why this apartment is so valuable to me. He says, do I need more physically? Absolutely not. He's so impressed, this Kaiser Wilhelm, I think it was, that he donated. They took him to there's a shul that was destroyed by the Arabs. There's a whole story about it, and actually they just rebuilt it now, and it looks like it's without a roof on it. I forget the name of the shul. It's in the Korba, and he said they asked him how come, he asked them how come there's no ceiling, no roof, and you see the archway on the top. So he says, well, they knew that the king was coming, so the synagogue, the shul, took off its cap in respect to the shul, to the king, and he smiled. He liked the ends. In fact, he donated money, a lot of money, to help rebuilding on that. But the Arabs destroyed it again in '48, and then they rebuilt it more recently now. So those goes just all goes to show like this. First of all, especially we have to remember tomorrow is Tisha B'Av. And the Shmuel Diskin didn't live a day without looking at the Chorban of the Beis Hamikdash, so that he should never forget it. And of course, he said Tikkun Chatzos is something that he used to say every night, as all the Gedolim do, and many Yidden do it. So at the end, the important part is that the schar we're going to get is going to be in Olam Haba. That tzaddikim is everybody's. The first Mishneh in Avos, it says, "Is kol Yisrael yeshlam chelik lo'elav amech kulam tzaddikim." There is we are all of Am Yisrael is considered tzaddikim. So tzaddikim are going to get their schar. All of Klal Yisrael is going to get their schar ma'aseh lava, and the schar is going to be exponentially much more than you would possibly get over here. There was a story in the Gemara brings down where I think it was Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. One of his students left and went into business, left the yeshiva, went into business, became wealthy. And he came back to the yeshiva, and all the Talmidim were very little jealous. Here they didn't have two nickels to rub together, and this guy left for 3 years, and he came back wealthy. So Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai took them to a valley, and he through the Shem, I don't know how he was able to do it, he filled up that valley with gold. And he said, anybody that wants gold could take as much as they want right now. And everybody looked at him, wow, it's unbelievable. He said, but just remember, whatever you take here now is going to give you less after 120. And of course, nobody took it. Nobody wanted to lose for a little gold the mountains and mountains of schar that he's going to get from Olam Haba. So we should just remember that we have to daven to Hashem that Tisha B'Av should become a Yom Tov. It's going to be a great Yom Tov of Tisha B'Av. It's going to be one of only Purim and Tisha B'Av are going to be the two Yom Tovs that are going to remain after Mashiach comes. And we should all be zoicha to the binyan Beis Hamikdash, and we should all have a meaning we should have a meaningful fast, and we should understand why we're fasting. And Rebbe Hashem should help Taka that the schus, learning of Torah, the schus, the tzedakahs that we give, the schus, the fasting that we have, that anybody needs yeshuas and food and atzlacha and shidduchim should Taka happen. The schus, all of these wonderful mitzvahs that we do. Thank you very much, and have a good day.